Well, one of our gCADPlus users based in Europe is having some difficulty manipulating rectangles. I've drawn a rectangle here using a heavy line weight, and I've made it 100 units by 100 units, so it's of course a square. But if I select the rectangle in the properties box, it's known, gCADPlus knows it as a rectangle entity, and you can see we can reach the grips or handles at midpoints and ends and in the centre of the rectangle. Let's deselect that. If we go back and pick it again, and if I click, say, on a handle in the right hand side of what is a square, and if I click on that handle and drag it, can you see that, and let's click, can you see that the rectangle has been stretched in both directions, so it's wider now on the left and on the right. And what our user wants to know is, how do you handle where you only want to stretch the rectangle on one side? So let's undo that and pick the rectangle again. What I can do is right click and select explode, and what that does, it breaks the rectangle up into the sort of rectangle that AutoCAD users are familiar with. It's just a polyline with 4 segments within the polyline, and I can right click and explode it again, and it now becomes 4 individual lines, so we could clearly pick this one, move it across, and then fill at the corner. Let's do that. So we can move this line. I've got polar on, so I can ensure I'm going across in that direction, and unselect all. Then I could use modify and fill it and pick that one and that one, that squares it off, and then pick that one and that one and squares it off. So we've achieved his aim, but there is an alternative way to do it. Let's see if we can revert back and remove that, and that line can be removed and this one can be removed. That's as a result of the fillet command. So we're now back to the original rectangle. So one right click, one left click on explode, and we've broken it up now into that sort of standard polyline with 4 segments in it. What I can then use, if we want to achieve his aim, is to modify and stretch. Now, this, just before I do that, this will get a little tricky, because I want to remove this construction line that I put there. I'll leave the construction line running down to the left, although I might thicken it up so we can see it clearly. So we've got, well, that's interesting, it didn't actually thick, maybe I didn't set it. I'm digressing, but let me pick that. No, it is. So a construction line, not unreasonably, won't show a thickness, but it's there showing our left hand side. So I can now, and I'll get rid of the dimension. And the reasons for this you'll see now, because I want to go modify, and then I want to stretch. The prompt down the bottom in the command area says select entities with a crossing window. That means come from the bottom right and go up to the top left. They have now been selected, and let's say I want to move this off to the left, so 20 units. So we've selected the entities. I right click and then specify a base point. I want to pick up the middle of that vertical line there, and I want to go, say, 20 units in this direction. So the rectangle, let me zoom out a bit, what was a square now becomes a rectangle. It's anchored at the left hand side, but we've moved things effectively to the right. So I hope you can see that the rectangle in gCADPlus is quite a complex beast, but you can manipulate it in pretty much any way you want.